so I want to introduce you to an organization known as the World Economic Forum. Now, some of you may have heard of this group and some of you may not have heard of this group. But basically, the World Economic Forum is an organization that has all the prominent world leaders and all of the rich billionaire captains of industries as members. And they're all trying to figure out how to bring the world under one world government control and make all the decisions for us as a group. Now, what I'm going to tell you here in this video is stuff I found out through looking at the World Economic Forum's videos and their websites. I'm not reading any crazy QAnon stuff. I'm not believing in the Illuminati. Everything the World Economic Forum does, they put out on press releases, on their own videos, and in writing on their website, okay? So this is coming direct from the horse's mouth, directly from the World Economic Forum, what they're trying to do. Sometimes they have a video that gets backlash and they take it down because it may come out with something a little too advanced for the populace to care for. So they take it down, but then of course somebody always keeps it. So the World Economic Forum was created by a German fellow named Klaus Schwab. He was the protege of Henry Kissinger. When Klaus was young, Henry Kissinger took him under his wing and taught him and trained him on how to do what Klaus does, okay? What the World Economic Forum has done for the last 50 years is they bring in captains of industries and politicians and they talk about how they want to change the world, the policies they want to implement. And he brings in these people's children and puts them through his young leadership program to where they learn how to become world leaders under Klaus's group's tutelage. And then when they go out and start running for public office, the World Economic Forum sees that they're supported by these rich people and win the elections, okay? The catch is you're beholden then to the World Economic Forum. If they got you elected and they come down and say, this is our policy we've decided on, you have to implement their policy. So that's what he's doing, is he's been doing a 50-year implementation of putting out political and different controls into the world. He's been building an organization for a one world government, basically. So a couple years ago, they came out with a video that said these are some of the predictions we have for 2030. Now, 2030 was a couple years ago, around 2020, they had built this 2030 plan. In 10 years, this is where we want to be. This is where we see us moving the world to. So let me go over a few of these predictions that they came out with for 2030. You will own nothing and be happy. What they want to do is they want to have it to where people don't own anything. If you live in a rented apartment or a building, you need something, you order it, it's delivered via drone, you use the object for a certain amount of time while paying for it and then send it back. So you don't actually own anything, you're just constantly renting everything. And so everything you need will be supplied to you, you just have to pay for it, you don't own things. So interesting idea, not a lot of people really like that. Okay, they also predict in 2030 that the U.S. will no longer be a world-leading superpower, okay? The United States will be knocked down off our military and our economic superpower status, and that superpower will be divested between a group of countries, all right? So we're not going to be the world currency anymore, and we're not going to be the dominant military power anymore, and we're not going to be telling the world what to do. It's going to be spread out through a bunch of countries. Okay, and then another one is you will eat less meat. It will be an occasional treat you'll get some meat, but it will no longer be a staple of your diet. And this is being done for climate change. They want to get rid of these giant herds of cows and chickens that they say are destroying the climate with their methane gases. to be a vegan and occasionally get a little bit of meat portioned out to you for the good of the environment. Now, that is one of their big sticks, okay? You have to understand, to get people to go along with changing things in their life, you have to create a threat to make it make sense that they're going to change things. And their big stick and their big threat is, we're destroying the world and your children are all going to die and there won't be a human race, so you better do what we say. They don't say that like that on their website, but that's kind of the climate gist. Okay. They also say, this also has to do with climate, is 1 billion people will be displaced from climate change, and we, the Western world, have to be prepared to take 1 billion people in as refugees and incorporate them into our society. Okay. So the problem is when they made this prediction, the climate hasn't changed anywhere enough. Nobody's being displaced by the climate. So the past couple of years, if you've noticed, over 10% of Europe has now been occupied by refugees. The United States has over 10% of our population from South American refugees that have moved in. Canada is more than 10% refugees that have been flown in. All the Western countries are being used to move people into, but it isn't climate change that pushes them in. It's economic destabilization has become the tool to motivate these people to migrate from their countries to Western societies. And our politicians are letting them in because the World Economic Forum told them that's the plan. Okay? And remember, they got them elected, so they can't say no. Other things they want to do is they say that they predict that Western values will have broken down by 2030. What this means is that this great experiment known as American democracy and Western democracy will have been proven to have been a failure after a couple hundred years. And by 2030, they will basically be able to point out and say, democracy has failed. We, the World Economic Forum, we, the smartest people in the world, need to be put in charge of everything. Democracy and hiring politicians by the people is a failed project. We're going to go back to the smartest people and richest people run the world because we're better than everyone else type mentality, which again has been the mentality through the world up until the creation of America. It's always been the most powerful run everything. And technically that's kind of the way it's been since, but we at least had some democracy for a while. All right, so another thing they want to do is they want to do 15-minute cities. This is where you live in a city, you rent your apartment, and everything you need can either be delivered or walked to within 15 minutes. Therefore, you don't need a car to commute to work. You don't need a car to go and get something at the grocery store. You are going to walk everywhere, or ride a skateboard or a bicycle. Okay. And then this is a fun one. They're going to have our smartphones monitor our mental health. This is a big plan they have. They're very worried about mental health these days and people's mental stability. So your smartphone will actually watch your facial expressions, your eyes. It'll monitor your heartbeat and your physiology, and it will know when you're upset or you're happy. It'll be able to watch you. And then through AI, it'll know if you're unhappy or not happy, and it'll have a little buddy on your phone that'll pop up, a little AI counselor that will tell you, okay, you know, you got really upset when you saw that news release on what just happened in the world. That was the policy of whoever's in charge, and you shouldn't be upset about this, and this is why you should be happy. So basically, our own smartphones will become AI control mechanisms to talk to us, to convince us that what's going on is okay, even though we know in our insides that it's not right. They also are going to create a new capitalism where instead of being judged on, right now our capitalism is your company makes money and that's what makes it successful, and if it does something that hurts the populace, then they're sued and lose their money, and that's what keeps them in check. Basic capitalism is how it works now. Their new capitalism is stakeholder capitalism. This is where companies are judged on the rules they set down. What's your carbon footprint? How are you helping the World Economic Forum and the world and your fellow human? These things will be how companies are judged, not on success or innovation, but cooperation and following our environmental and rules set forth by the new government. All right. And the other thing that they're really huge on is they're having all countries pushing them to create central bank digital currencies. The reason they're going to do this is once we have central bank digital currencies in 2030-ish or so, when they take over, they'll have a head central bank that then tells the other central banks how to control the currencies. It's a great system. It's basically like we all have our own individual country digital currencies, but then they put a cap on top of it and control all the world currencies. All right, so that is basically the World Economic Forum, what they're moving towards, what they're doing. It's all on their website. You can go and look up all this information yourself with going to their website. It's easier to do a Google search to find it on their website and then go see it, I found. So World Economic Forum, economy, to look at the economy stuff, or World Economic Forum, eat less meat, and then you go find that or something like that. So I'm going to stop this video here so it's not too long, and then we're going to cover the second half in the next video about how this works with prophecy. So God bless you and keep you. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe.